Good morning, everyone. We're going to continue with our Mishnah learning. Today, the letter Bet. This is from the fourth chapter of Pirkei Avot, the very beginning, the very first Mishnah. Ben Zoma Omer. Ben Zoma says four things. I think they're fairly well known. Ezehu Chacham, who is a wise person, Lomed Mikol Adam, the person who learns from every individual. He then gives a proof text to that statement. Ezehu Gibor, who is the mighty individual. Koveshet Yitzor, the person who is able to subdue his own inclination, control his desires. That's the person who is truly, genuinely mighty. Ezehu Asher, who is the rich person, who is the wealthy person. Samech Bechalko, the person who is happy in his lot, satisfied with what he has. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. And then finally, Ezehu Mechubad, who is the person who deserves to be honored? And the answer is Mechabed et Habriot, the person who honors other people as well. Now, each and every one of these lessons, obviously, is a wealth, a treasury of wisdom. But the one I wanted to just briefly spend a little time with is Ezehu Shir. Who is the wealthy person? Who is the rich individual? I should point out that there are other opinions offered elsewhere besides simply the Samech Bechoko, the person who's satisfied with his lot. For example, there's an opinion that uses objective terms. A person who owns a certain amount of orchards, a pardes. He has he's acquired a certain amount of wealth. Objectively, then, we say that he is a wealthy person. Another opinion offered, which I actually find a little bit humorous, but also quite insightful, is a person who has indoor plumbing. This, of course, is during the time of the Mishnah. A person with indoor plumbing would, in fact, be quite wealthy if he is able to go to the restroom without having to go out in the cold and the rain in order to relieve himself. What that says for us, of course, though, today is all of us have access to such a luxury, if you think about it in that regard. We should view ourselves incredibly fortunate. We should view ourselves, the entire society, as quite wealthy in that type of sense. There's a book called The Confessions of an Eco-Sinner, in which he points out how an average person today lives the equivalent of what a Roman emperor would have lived so many years ago. In other words, the Roman emperor might have hundreds and hundreds, perhaps thousands of servants, someone to run to the water, to boil up the water so he had hot water, someone to run in order to send a message to the person in the next town, or a series of people riding horses to send messages. Today, if you think about how easy it is for us to wash our clothes, how easy it is for us to have access to hot water, how easy it is for us to communicate with people throughout the world, we really live the life. In contrast, we live the life of an emperor. And so we should really be satisfied with our lot in that regard. But I want to add one more idea to this answer that the Ben Zoma gives. The person who is rich is the person who's samech b'chalko. The pshat, the simple understanding of that, is based upon teachings that appear in the Midrash Rabbah, as well as many other places, that point out a person who has 100 very often will want 200. A person who gets 200 very often will want 400. It's a never-ending sort of hedonistic treadmill. You can never get off. If you're not satisfied with what you have on any given day, and you're always searching for the next acquisition, if you have 100, you want 200, 400. No matter how much you acquire, you'll never be satisfied. You'll never be happy, because you'll always feel a lacking, because there's always so much more out there. And so therefore, a person who's satisfied with what he has, even if he only has 100, will feel much wealthier, much richer than the person who may have thousands and thousands, but feels lacking because they don't have 2,000s, 4,000s, 8,000s. But there's a deeper, I think, message here as well. And I learned this actually one of the early days when I was in Israel. I was riding in a taxi. It's one of the things that convinced me that Israel is such a magical place. And the radio on the taxi was playing someone teaching Pirkei Avot. The statement from Ben Zoma came on. Ezehu Asher, the person who is wealthy, is the one who's satisfied with what he has, and gave some of the reasons I might have just given. What was beautiful, however, not only that radio, you can learn Torah by listening to the radio in a taxi, but what was really beautiful is the driver shut the radio off, and he turned to me when we came to a stop. It says, that's not what it really means. You know what it really means? Ezehu Asher Samech B'Chalko, who is the wealthy person, the person who's happy with his lot? And he points and he says, Ezehu Asher, who is the wealthy person? Samech B'Chalko. I don't know if you can see this on the screen. He pointed to someone else, the other person. The person who's genuinely wealthy is the person who can rejoice when his next door neighbor does very well. When the next door neighbor pulls in with a brand new car, or a friend gets a brand new job or a raise, and you don't get a raise, and you can still be happy. You can rejoice in the successes, whether they be financial or otherwise, in the successes of other people. That's truly a wealthy person who sees life not as a zero-sum game. Whatever he gains, I lose, but rather that we can all gain and can really be happy, genuinely happy for another person. That's a person who's going through life feeling as the wealthiest individual around. Have a nice day.